Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live coverage of the Racing Leagues.com Oceanic GT series. We're coming to you live from Phillip Island for round 12 and the final round of this great series. And I'd like to introduce you to the commentary team tonight. We'll have Edward Foster and Wee Han Chan joining me in the combox. So welcome guys, we've got 6 minutes of qualifying to go and a lot to cover.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for the warm welcome, Bernie. It's nice to be up here with yourself and the Rager from Asia, Wee Han Chan. Just having a look at this qualifying session, as you mentioned, it's just ticked over with just a bit less than 6 minutes to go. And there's just tenths and hundreds separating those top 7 guys on the grid. It's looking like a really close battle up there in one lap pace at the very least for the top runners in the race. And there's a very, very tight battle sort of forming in the midfield as well. So nice big field tonight. I reckon we're going to be in for some really close racing. It should be excellent.
Oh, it's going to be absolutely brilliant. We've got 20 drivers turning up tonight, folks, so we've got a really good sized field. I'm expecting a lot of close action and a lot of great racing to send this series off in the style it deserves to be sent off in. And having a look at the way we're going to see the race tonight, folks, let's bring that up. So round 12, as you can see, they're just finishing 20 minutes of qualifying. As far as fuel capacity goes tonight, 30%, and the total race length will be 60 minutes. So expect probably about 2 stops to happen tonight. They'll just throw tyres on it and continue on. There's going to be one random safety car out there, so keep an eye out for that. As far as the start goes, it's a rolling start, and as far as the restart goes, we'll have a single file restart. A couple of other things, folks, to keep an eye on. Incident limit tonight set at 40. They'll have one fast repair, so that's one get out of jail free card. After that, if they have an incident, they're going to be in a bit of trouble here, Wee Han.
Well, certainly with the random safety car, I think, again, like previous rounds, is going to add an element of surprise for the drivers, as it may disrupt their strategy a bit. But yes, one fast repair, that's going to be helpful for them tonight.
Yeah, it certainly is. And looking at the point score coming into this, folks, well, Jamie McKnight, he's leading the championship on 1,478 points. Keep an eye on Blair Walton in the BMW, though, 1194. I doubt he can catch up, but he's going to be eager to defend against third place Daniel Stevens in the Mercedes. They're only separated by 60 points, so there's still a bit to play for there. Gavin Cox in the Ferrari sits in 4th, and rounding out your top 5 is Troy Allen in the Mercedes.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting night's racing, especially looking at those positions in the championship. There are still obviously just one round to go, but there are some guys, Walton and Stevens in particular, looking very close there, everything else. But you can see that there are a couple of guys out here that are doing very well in the points that appear to be struggling for pace a little bit. Gavin Cox is one of those. He's down in 12th place at the moment, so he's definitely going to want to be starting higher up if he really wants to give Stevens a little bit of curry for that second place in the championship, or third place in the championship. Blair Walton, he's down there in 13th as well, and he's down there with Sam DeVent here at the moment, who apparently is just struggling for pace as well. So I guess a few of these guys in terms of setup have really hit the nail on the head. And there's some other guys perhaps with a little bit of work to do, and that's the last thing that you want. You don't want your qualifying session to still be tweaking the car. You want to have your setup right by now. And I would say that looking at the times that have been set out there, you'd say probably the top 7 or 8 guys are in the window. They're feeling happy. There are guys below that who are probably doing a little bit of tweaking right now, and it's a little bit panic stations for them actually at the moment. So are they going to tweak? Are they going to work on race pace? Are they going to throw it all on the line for one final hard lap to try and launch themselves up the field in starting order? Well, it's all part of the strategy game that GT3 racing is.
Yeah, it certainly is. And we heard from Riley DeVentia. He's part of Sam DeVentia's team. He's actually saying they're struggling for pace big time, as you said, out there at the moment. We can see him just coming out of the pit, sitting 14th at the moment. So, as you said, 1:51 of qualifying left, and these guys will be trying to work out what they need to do to get this car a bit faster, I guess you could say, or more tuned into the driver. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting racing, that's for sure. But at the moment, as far as qualifying goes, folks, we've got Kai Sloggett. He's in provisional pole with the 124.594, and just 1/10 or 100th of a second behind him is Jeremiah Morton, and he did a 24.630, and then 3/10 down is Daniel Stevens, 124.903. Great to see Wayne Pengilly out here tonight having a run, and he's sitting in 4th, just ahead of Jamie McKnight in 5th. And I know during the day these two get on really well, and yeah, they were, talking smack to each other about how they're going to go here tonight. So let's find out.
Absolutely. Let's see how they go. And there's a few interesting dynamics out there tonight. You've got these guys. You've got being the last round of the series now. We've seen a lot of guys sort of jumping in, wanting to send this series off as best as absolutely possible. And just looking through that field, there's a few guys who you wouldn't normally see doing this race. I know, for example, I'll just give a quick shout out actually to Roger Clark, who's a fellow admin and good mate of mine in our Anne's Car series, and he's actually dusting off the wheel and giving a bit of a run tonight, having actually just had a baby on Tuesday. So I'm not sure quite how well that's going to go down with the missus, but either way, he's in front of his PC tonight behind the wheel and out here giving it a good crack.
Yeah, and your brother's out there, James Foster, sitting in 6th at the moment, having a run. I know Steve Hoppett's in the chat channel. He said he was going to dust off the old AMG and have a run himself tonight, but he figured he'd rather watch. But he's actually going for your brother, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's great to see James out here as well. So he's not actually run this series before, but he was responsible for getting me into iRacing in the first instance, and he always was a very big fan of the GT3s, and you did extremely well for a while when he was really, really running a lot. And he runs on a little bit more casual basis now, but he's going to be competitive tonight. Put your money on it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, when is he not competitive? I think, when we see your brother in the NASCARs, I know you've said it yourself that he's extremely competitive. No love lost between you two, that's for sure, as we see Gavin Cox now just testing the grass down there into turn 1 in the DeWalt Ferrari. And, yes, it pulls up beautifully, Gavin, so that you can level up on grass sliding.
Yeah, it doesn't really pull up that well on the grass, but it pulled up well enough to keep him away from the wall, which is the main thing. Slick tyres on grass isn't exactly the greatest combo, but if you've got to be there, you may as well be in the car with some decent brakes on it.
Yeah, we can see Norman out there at the moment. That's Norman Clark, Roger's father, having a run, and he's sitting in 20th at the moment in the BMW. I'm not sure how often he runs the GT3s, but considering his racing background, I wouldn't be surprised if he knows how to turn these things around.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, I don't know, I can't profess to know the racing history of absolutely everybody in this field, but I'll tell you one thing, in terms of actual racing history and legacy and everything else, you would struggle to do better than Norman Clark for the things that he's done. If you get a chance to have a chat to him about some of the things that he's done and some of the places he's raced and the people he's raced against, do it, because he's got some stories.
Yeah, I'd love to sit down over a beer one day and have a chat with him about his racing history. You never know, I might catch a plane over to New Zealand and catch up with Roger. I know Roger, though, he's very busy these days with a young baby just being born last week, so congratulations to himself and his partner. So that's awesome news, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Happened Tuesday night. Tuesday night, they always manage to arrive at the early hours of the morning. And this one was no different. I think it was about 3:30 a.m. New Zealand time that little Charlotte arrived into the world. So I think that her first real opportunity to sit back and watch the old man have a race, I'm sure she's sitting there wide-eyed wondering what on earth he's doing and what he's shouting about in that room.
I'd say so. Yeah, and it's great to have Weehan on board. Of course, Weehan, you've come back from China, and that's why you're sounding a little bit tired tonight.
I just had a 1 month long holiday back in China, but now I'm back and I'm ready for some racing action tonight.
Awesome news, and we can see them down there, folks, queuing up. It's going to be a 1 lap under the safety car, and then we're going to be going racing here. 60 minutes, time certain, and 20 cars taking to the grid, so it's going to be an awesome race. But let's take you through that grid now so you can see where your favourite driver will be starting tonight. So Kai Sloggett, he will be starting from pole position. His time was a 1:24.594. He's joined on the first row by Jeremiah Morton, starting in second. He set a time of 1:24.630. As we go down to the second row, we have Daniel Stevens starting out of third, and he's joined on the grid by Wayne Pengilly out of fourth. Keep an eye on Jamie McKnight. He is the series leader, and he's starting out of the third row in fifth. James Foster, he's going to start next to him out of sixth. As we move back to the fourth row here, we've got Jordan McDonald starting out of seventh, and Mitchell Bales will start beside him in eighth. Back in the fifth row is Troy Allen and James Bell. As we move back to the sixth row, we have David Kinmon starting in 11th, Gavin Cox in the Ferrari, he will start out of 12th. Out of the seventh row tonight is Blair Walton in the BMW, and he's joined by Sam Deventia in the Mercedes. Then going back to the eighth row is Jonathan Ben out of 15th, Steve O'Connor from the UK, he will start out of 16th. Then going back to the 17th position, because I've forgotten what row we're at, is Roger Clark, and Darren Goosey will start with him out of 18th. Out of 19th tonight is Mark Gow, and Norman Clark, he will round out the field and start in 20th position.
Yeah, looking like a fairly expecting fairly busy start, busy first lap, I think. Yeah, there are a lot of guys at the moment sitting there behind the pace car, rolling around, and they're not just driving around. They're actually checking. There's a lot of systems on these cars. There's a lot of settings. You've got your ABS and your traction control and your engine maps and everything like this, and they're setting that up, and they're setting everything up for the start now. They'll generally run. It could be, and it's down to the individual driver and team which strategy they want to run. But for the first few laps, you're running flat out trying to really settle into your position, and after that there may be a little bit of fuel saving and other things coming into play. Of course, no one knows when that random safety car is coming out tonight, so that's going to be another spanner in the works. But it's going to be interesting to see if this gaggle of AMGs sitting up there at the front are able to make a breakaway. I think the first BMW there, BMW and Audi sharing a row back there in I believe it's 6th and 7th. You've got Foster and McDonald there, so everything in front of them is all AMG.
Yeah, and already one of the viewers on the chat channel going by the Snowbar 77, he's basically placed a bet. He's saying, let's see, he's betting Pengilly's going to take out McKnight on turn 2. So let's hope that does not happen.
Yeah, let's hope not for both of their sakes. I'm also just keeping an eye on Sloggett and Stevens there. The three of those AMGs up there are MFR cars. And if you remember last week, Dan Stevens saying there was nothing wrong with their strategy. They felt that was optimised. But they didn't execute, and they need to execute. They both made mistakes. So let's see if they can pull off a plan tonight. I guarantee you they've got one.
Yeah, guaranteed. As we come through the first corner here, and we are underway very shortly. As you can see, Kai Sloggett, he's put the foot down, and we are racing here at Phillip Island for the final round of RacingLeagues.com. As you can see, folks, Kyle Sloggett takes the first corner and leads the pack, followed by Jeremiah Morton in second. Coming down to turn 2, it looks like a nice clean start here at the moment, Edward.
Yeah, I think Morton's actually got on there. He's moved on Sloggett. It was an absolute hectic first corner here, and he played that to perfection. I know he was disappointed in qualifying not to get that pole. A couple of things got in his way, but he's rectified that within the first couple of corners.
Yeah, so Jeremiah Morton comes out swinging, which is fantastic to see. Also back in fourth at the moment is James Foster. He's just got past Wayne Pengilly and Jamie McKnight, so he moves up 2 positions into fourth position. Jordan McDonald in the Audi, he's starting to pressure Jamie McKnight, and Wayne Pengilly just ahead of these two. It's looking like quite a good little battle pack forming here.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I'll tell you one thing, I've raced against Jordan McDonald on a couple of occasions as well, and I mean, he is very, very fast, so I'd be keeping my eyes on him tonight as well. I'm wouldn't even register as a blip on his radar. I'm sure I've been sort of many positions behind him, but he's a very, very quick one, and he looks like he's sizing up these two Mercedes in front of him at the moment.
Yeah, and we're riding with Jamie McKnight at the moment. You can hear in the left there, folks. That's screaming. That's not a mosquito. That's the Audi threading the needle into the wall. He goes.
Oh dear, that's terrible.
Who are they?
That was Jordan McDonald there. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to find him on screen. Where's he gone?
Yeah, McDonald's gone, and he's taken somebody else with him. I actually missed who it was. It was a yellow car. So I think it was a yellow AMG has gone with him.
Okay, so there's McDonald. Let's go back and have a look at that. We could hear him threading that needle, couldn't we? And I'll tell you what, it just wasn't enough room, was it?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Sorry to talk across you there, Weehan, but he's got a bit of momentum there, and yeah, I think he's got to actually shoot down past on the inside, and he probably thought he was clear, and actually just clipped the front end of the car that was next to him, which I still haven't been able to identify. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was Jamie McKnight. We're actually riding with him. Have a look at this Audi, folks, of Jordan McDonald down here. He decides he's going to try and thread the needle, and he probably thought he was clear as he comes across now. We'll go to the super slow-mo, and big time, just turn straight into the wall. Massive, massive hit as he comes back out onto the track and into the 79. Look at that. That's a massive hit, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, that is really unfortunate. A very uncharacteristic mistake there from McDonald. I was just talking him up, actually. So commentators curse, even for the rookie commentators like myself. We can still curse somebody like a pro, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's going to be the end of his threat for the win. Whether he decides to try and get that patched up and continue, that's another story.
Yeah, well, that's it. He's got a fast repair, but he might need to change his pants after that one, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think, well, I did forget about the fast repair, so that's at least going to let him get out and hope to make up some spots. Virtual safety car still to come, so it's not going to be too much of a time loss for him, but there's definitely going to be a period of towing back to the pits, which the fast repair isn't going to help him with, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him drop at least one lap here.
Yeah, and we did hear from him. He basically said that he thought he was clear. The mirror did show that he was behind him. It was a very close call, wasn't it? Like it looked like a matter of probably half a foot of clearance there when the Audi came across. So, you know, these things happen, and hopefully Jordan will get back out there and continue on once that tow's done.
Yeah, we've all done it. We've all done it. We've all moved across into somebody else's line of sight when we thought we've been clear and we haven't. And it's just one of those things that just shows if Jordan can do it, anybody can do it, because he's definitely one of the best out there. So unfortunate for him, but we do get to see him making a run in clean air. We'll see how many positions he can make up. I'm going to bet that he doesn't finish last tonight.
Yeah, and Jamie McKnight, there goes, and he runs off turn 2. He was having a good battle there, leading Wayne Pangili. It looks like he succumbed to a little bit of pressure there and just ran wide and down there in Southern Loop. So he's dropped back now to 8th position. And we're only on lap 3 here, folks. And I'll tell you what, they've come out swinging, and it's been very action-packed for the first 3 laps here.
Absolutely, it's been full of drama here as we've come to the start of the race, and now we're having a look at Jamie McKnight. He's trying to make a position on the David. Was David beside him? Yeah, and now he's gone up a position.
Yeah, he just got to around David Kinmond there. Sam DeVentia, he's also got past David. So Sam was worried in qualifying that he did not have that set up. He started from 14th. He's side by side with Kinmond now, up into 8th position. So Sam DeVentia, Edward, he's got his eyes forward, and it looks like he might have sorted out that handling issue that he had.
Yeah, we saw it last week, didn't we? He didn't qualify overly well last week, and he managed to come through the field. He played an absolute strategic blinder as we see McKnight go past the inside of Bell there into turn 1. Yeah, he played a blinder. He was fantastic, and it looks as though, you know, even if he doesn't get it quite right in qualifying, in the race, he's running forward. So Absolutely, I think he will. He may be a factor. He may be a factor at the end of this race for those top positions.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on it, as we will when the random safety car comes out. And as always, folks, we have gone and rounded up our volunteer through the week and stuck them in the room with the big red button. They will get an electric shock when it's time for that to come out, and they will be expected to press that button. If they do, they'll get released. If they don't, well, they can come back and do the big red button next time we need one.
Yeah, or giving the electric shock almost defeats the purpose of having him in the box in the first place. So, yeah, if you've got to tell them when to do it, but that's okay. I'm sure they're sat there nervously waiting to push that, bring out that safety car. We'll see when it comes out. It's not going to suit everyone, but it's going to suit some people, and it may have the effect of turning the race on its head.
Yeah, well, I must say the electric shock is not there to tell them. That's just purely for entertainment purposes.
Why are you so cynical, mate?
It's creating atmosphere.
Yes, atmosphere, but it's a bit frightening, isn't it?
Not really.
Oh, you'll be worried you may be put in the box next week, hon, I think.
I think so.
It looks like Jordan McDonald, he's chucked the towel into a bucket, and I think he's disconnected from the race.
Yeah.
So there goes his fight.
Yeah, that's a shame. That's an absolute shame.
Yeah, it certainly is. Looks like he's had enough. So that's our first retirement for tonight. You can see on the screen at the moment James Foster in the BMW. He's trying to gain on Daniel Stevens and Kai Sloggett. So these two are having a great battle for second and third. But meanwhile, Jeremiah Morton, he's just cleared out on these guys. 4.7 seconds is the gap as we come through to complete lap 5 here at Phillip Island.
Yeah, Morton has cleared out, and he's left these guys battling behind him. And I'll tell you what, Dan Stevens, I'm not sure that he's going to really be enjoying this, because he's got Foster right up behind him. And let's not forget that Stevens, we mentioned him earlier on in the broadcast, he's fighting for a top spot in the championship. And you've got this bloke right up behind you who's first race in. He's got and Stevens is gone. Stevens has actually gone off. He's gone straight into the barrier. He's going to be rotten with that.
Yeah,
it looked like he hit the outside there on the exit of turn 1, and he's out into the wall, and I think he's going to lose quite a lot of positions now with all the cars passing him to his left.
Yeah, we're riding there with Foster as they came into turn 1, and basically you're right, he got out into the grass. I thought he was going to gather it up, but then it swung again. But let's have a look at the replay in super slow-mo here, folks. Keep an eye on the 66 here as he comes through. You can just see the back end drifting out. He tried to correct it, but then the rear got into the grass there. And once you get into that, and there's no coming back from it, because these GT3s, once they decide to turn on you, they're very, very hard to gather up, and heavily into the wall there. He's going to be dirty with himself for sure, and it'll be interesting to see, Edward, if this has any ramifications for the final standings in the points tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Time will tell, I suppose. I'm just having a look back at, there's a battle going on between Sam Deventia back there in 14th place. He's leading David Kinmont. You've got Gavin Cox there. And I believe you've also got James Bell in there as well. Those positions have been swapping. They swapped a couple of times on this lap already, and they're really getting into each other. It's a midfield battle. We did say the midfield was going to be looking tight here, and even still with 49 minutes to go in this race, these guys are driving it like it's a 2-lap sprint.
Oh, yeah, for sure. As we've just lost David Kinmont in the same spot, he goes around, and tell you what, turn 1 tonight, folks, is claiming a lot of scalps. Don't know when he's going to stop. I thought he might have been trying to get to Tasmania, but let's have a look at the replay here, because he went off big time. So just have a look as he comes down to turn 1 here. The car pretty much has let go mid-corner, again. I'm just trying to see. He's turning it in, as you can see there, folks. And, yeah, he got the wheel on the inside of the curb, and that's unsettled it. And then he goes for a ride of his life as he's just going on the infield. I tell you what, we're very lucky we've got a lot of grass out there, because he probably travelled backwards a good probably 500 metres till he pulled that up. I don't even think he even touched the brakes.
Yeah, exactly. He just touched the inside curb there, but it sort of unsettled the car, and he essentially bounced him off to the outside of turn 1. And my goodness, he had quite a nice ride going backwards.
Yeah, so that puts Kinmond down to 13th now, right behind Blair Walton in 12th position. But it's great to see, I was going to say before that incident, it's great to see James Bell out having a run tonight. We've seen him earlier in the series, but he hasn't been around for the last 2 or 3 rounds. But it's great to see he's come out tonight to farewell a great racing league here, and it's great to see a good mixture of cars, 2 Ferraris, and that's 7th and 8th position at the moment.
Yeah, first strategic play of the night unfolding right now as well. We got Blair Walton gone to the lane. He was in a big battle with a couple of the other guys. He was there around Troy Allen, Mitchell Bales. David Kinmond had actually just come out from his little spin. He's come back on into the mix of that battle. So he's obviously decided it's getting a bit too hot for me here. I'm getting slowed down. I've got to dive into the pits, get some more fuel and run in some clean air and hopefully leapfrog those guys later on in the race. So we'll be watching him with interest to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, definitely, and expect them to have 2 stops here tonight, folks. We're on lap 8 of however many laps they're going to complete, 47 minutes to go. So based on that, they're probably going to get around about 26 laps in. That's my guess.
And we saw that last week, didn't we, where Gavin Cox was frantically trying to save fuel, and the race probably went a lap longer than he thought it was going to, because it's time dependent. So it's however many laps you can get into the time, and if the leader crosses that start finish line a couple of seconds before the hour elapses, he's got to go for a whole nother lap. So you'll generally find that if he's got a bit of space, he may even slow up, because you never know what's going to happen in that last lap, and allow the time to actually run out before he crosses the finish line. It's all part of the strategy of these time-certain races that these GT3s run.
Yeah, it certainly is, but I can guarantee you he won't make the same mistake again. And as we can see, he's having a look on the inside of James Bell there. James gives him plenty of room, and he doesn't. And Gavin does not make that move.
Yeah, there's battles going on all over the circuit. It's hard to know where to look. You've got Bell and Cox in the 2 Ferraris going at it. You've got fantastic battle down around where Mitchell Bales is at the moment. They are absolutely nose to tail. Mitchell carrying a little bit of damage there on the front. He'll get that tidied up in the pits, no problems at all. But you've got the recovering David Kinmond there. You've got Mark Gow running that. They're just running side by side at the minute, actually. And there is a gaggle of cars up behind. Roger Clark looks like he's in that mix as well, looking to pounce if these guys make any errors whatsoever, any contact, any little slips. And we've already seen them tonight. We know that can happen. They're getting stuck into each other. Yeah, Kinmond getting a little bit wide, and everyone's going to get into that. The guys behind, they're just waiting for these guys in front to make errors, make contact, and pick up the places that way. That's the way you have to drive a longer race like this one.
Yeah, we can see Roger Clark there in 13th, but I tell you what, when we saw Gow and Bales there going side by side with the purple car of Kinmond behind them, I was getting deja vu to last Thursday at Richmond, because that's exactly what Jason Martin was experiencing, wasn't he?
Yeah, he certainly was. It's not often that you see Jason Martin having any sort of difficulty, but yeah, he's had his moments in that race, certainly, as we watch Wayne Pingilly and Mitchell Bales in the pits. I believe these two are actually teammates, part of the MFR squad. I believe a 5-pronged AMG MFR attack tonight. So it'd be interesting to see if we see Sloggett or Stevens or anything like that follow suit, because I know that these guys, especially last week, watching Stevens and Sloggett running together, they actually like to run the same strategy. It's like they decided what the optimum strategy was, and they decided every car's going to run it. So let's keep an eye on Sloggett and Stevens and see if they follow suit. It looks like Bales has actually run off, and Pingilly's still in the pits.
No, well, what happened was Bales went off at the same corner as Pengilly. Pengilly got towed back to the pits, and Bales ended up exactly where Wayne Pengilly was. So I don't know what's happened there, but they've made the exact same mistake on the exact same corner, and Pengilly's been towed. But he's also missing his bonnet, so I'm not sure what that was about.
Yeah, we've got McKnight and Deventia in the lane now as well, so we're seeing a little bit of that strategy starting to play out. So we've still got the leaders, and leaders are happy. The leaders that seem happy out there at the moment. We've got Morton, Sloggett and Foster all running up there, about 9.5 seconds separating first to third. And then you've got the guys who are about 20 seconds back, and we've got guys who've pitted behind them and so on. So it'll be interesting to see when these top three decide it's time for them to come to the lane.
Yeah, it definitely will be, and I guess, Weehan, if you're out there, what would you be thinking about now?
Thinking about?
Sorry, are we keeping you up, young man?
Yeah, I'm having my eyes on Jeremiah Morton now, and he's just gone to the pits for his service.
Yep, so he's coming in to take the first service. That we'll see Kai Sloggett stays out. He will take the lead here. But I'll tell you what, Edward, he had a good lead, didn't he, that Jeremiah? 5.9 seconds was the lead when he brought that into the pits.
Yeah, it just shows how close the racing's been when 5.9 seconds is considered to be a handy lead. GT racing, they often spread quite out, as we see Foster in the lane now as well. So he might be basing his strategy off of what Jeremiah's done, but knowing him as I do, I'd imagine that was probably pre-planned.
Yeah, I'd say so. The best thing, we said it the other night at the AOSC, I'll say it again tonight, the best laid plan is to run your own strategy here. Don't worry about any random safety car, because I tell you what, if you're going to try and second guess when that thing's coming out, you might as well go and buy yourself a lottery ticket. You can see now Kinmont, he's bringing that car in for service, and they're definitely all starting to come in as Jonathan Ben now comes out. He did a stop, 13.7 seconds, and on average that's a pretty good stop. The fastest one out there was Daniel Stevens. No, it wasn't. It was David Kinmont. No, I'll correct myself. Blair Walton on 11 seconds is the fastest.
Yeah, and just watching those leaders actually exit those stops, it worked out really well for Jeremiah Morton. He came out in clean air. It did not work out as well for James Foster at all. He's come out in a battle there with, I believe, it's one of the couple of the AMGs. He's got Gavin Cox right up behind him as well. So he's come out he's got to be losing time there. He's come out into a pack of cars, and that really hasn't worked for him the way it's worked for Morton at all.
Yeah, and Gavin Cox is coming in now to take service of that Ferrari. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out. The other cars that have not stopped as yet, James Bell goes straight through once more. Gavin Cox, he's in taking service now, folks. Roger Clark stays out. He's in sixth in the BMW, and Troy Allen. So Roger and Troy both bring those cars in now. Troy's getting a bit off the side of the entry there, but gathers it back up, so they'll take service. So after these two, the only other person that has not taken service yet is James Bell.
Yeah, so it'll be, there he is running away in the lead. Of course, only 8.4 seconds to the good, 8.7 seconds to the good, I'm sorry, at the moment. I do apologise as well, I actually misidentified Gavin Cox. Of course, it was Steve O'Connor up behind Foster, who's painted in a identical Ferrari livery tonight. So just watching Roger Clark come out of the pits, it looks like he has got a nice clear track to come back out into. And he's carrying a little bit of damage on the front at the moment, which says to me that he hasn't actually elected to use that fast repair. And maybe saving it for a potential disaster later on. Anything could happen, of course, as we see Kinmont just slice past him as he comes out of the pit lane.
And see now Bell coming through. What's he going to do? He dives into the pits now. So I'd say he's taking it as far as he can on that window. They've been racing now 20 minutes, so that makes sense. We're expecting a two-stop race here tonight. They're only racing at 30% fuel capacity, so 20 minutes, that sounds about right.
Yeah, it certainly does. I'm not sure if that was sort of fuel dependent, that stop, or if it's a strategy move, or if he's run as long as he can, he really needs to get into the lane. But whatever the case is, Morton has retaken the lead and Slogger has gone past as well. It looks as though James Foster has lost out to McKnight in all of that, and that's what happens when you come out into a pack of cars. It looks as though Jamie's actually been able to get that done through the pit stop, so change for third and fourth.
Yeah, so McKnight up to third, Foster in fourth position, and just looking for Wayne Pengilly out there. He has retired that car, so that's our second retirement tonight, folks. Not sure what happened to him, but he wasn't happy with that car and pulled it off in down there in Southern Loop. So 2 retirements. We've still got 18 running. The 96 of Steve O'Connor, he's in the DeWalt Ferrari from UK. He's the other organiser, 1 lap down. Darren Goosey in the 186. He's just coming back out of the pits now, and he's in the John Deere Audi. He is 2 laps down now, and he's taking to the long exit road here. I'm not sure if he's going to get it up to speed. Actually, he's actually stopping coming out of pit lane.
Yeah, just while you were talking then, sorry Bernie, I'm just having a look at the battle between Sam Deventia and Daniel Stevens. It's probably the closest battle on track at the moment, going on for 5th and 6th positions. And yeah, Sam's done an awesome job to get that car up from a fairly lowly qualifying position. Stevens, of course, having made that error before, but he really looks as though he's lining him up now as he comes down the main straight. Deventia goes to the left. He's going to force Stevens to try and take that tighter line down the inside. It's the less preferred line. It's the dirtier line. But it does look as though Stevens has got that move done, and if he can just make sure he doesn't run off the right-hand side of the track, he does that, and he's got him covered off. Deventia has a look. Believe that Stevens is going to hold on to that. Just having a bit of a chat as we see Goosey going very slowly there. I'm not sure what that's about. Shout out to Wayne Pengilly. I would have loved to have seen him finish this race tonight. He's been involved with RacingLeagues.com for a long time, and I'm sure he's hoping for a better finish than that, but not to be, unfortunately.
Yeah,
definitely. All right, and the safety car is out.
So, what lap are we on now? So, lap 15, the safety cars come out, and basically now, folks, they will all gather up behind the safety car, and second lap through, the pit lane will be open. Third lap, we'll be back racing here at Phillip Island.
So it'll be interesting to see if these guys take advantage. Of course, everybody's just stopped, so it really hasn't come out at a time that helps anyone. I'm fairly sure the entire field had stopped. I wonder if Bell's kind of kicking himself. I don't know if he had the option to stay out another couple of laps. If he had, he would have been in an awesome position. Anyway, we've got all the field, all on the same scenario. They've all pitted. It's going to be interesting to see if anybody decides to duck in under the safety car, maybe grab some fresh tyres, you know, if they feel they're starting to go. These tyres are fairly long-lived on these GT3s, but fresh tyres is always better. If you can take a free pit stop, you're going to sacrifice some track position, yes. You're not going to lose a lot of time, and if somebody believes a fresh set of tyres, running them through to the end of the race is going to be a good thing for them. You may see some guys taking those tyres right now, so let's watch.
Yeah, definitely. I know if I was like down in 14th back or even 12th back, I'd probably go for that free kick and throw some tyres on, because the worst you're going to do is drop back, you know, 3 or 4 positions, but then you've got those fresh tyres up your sleeve for the rest of the race, and we did see that in a previous round. One driver did put on fresh tyres. It did make a difference. However, in other rounds we've seen people try that strategy and it made no difference, but let's see how it unfolds.
Yeah, well, if these drivers are smart, they would have used the practice session to actually find out how much difference there is between the new tyres and the fresh tyres. It varies depending on circuit and weather and all these other factors, even car setup to a degree. So let's have a look to see what they do, because if they've actually done their homework and done their practice, these guys are going to know exactly what the differentiating time is between fresh tyres and used tyres. So let's just take a look as we go around if anybody takes that option to dive into the pits. I think, McKnight's going. McKnight's going in. Looks like he may be. There's a couple of guys in the background following him as well. So maybe we'll just have a quick look here to see if he takes tyres or if he's just going for a splash of fuel. It looks like there may be Stevens, Deventia, and one of those DeWalt Ferraris in there behind him as well.
Yeah, so a few of them are taking to it. Blair Walton's also coming in. You can see him in the background now taking service. So a few of the guys have decided to take to the pit road. It'll be interesting to see, as you said, are they going to throw tyres on these things or are they just going to fill them up? Jamie McKnight first out, 7.5 seconds. That's telling me he's pretty much just throwing some fuel into it. Daniel Stevens, he's out, 12.4 seconds. So it looks like they're just throwing some fuel in at the moment.
Yeah, it just looks like a fuel top off. I'm just watching Roger Clark and a couple of the other guys in there at the moment. It looks like they're just getting... No, Roger is taking tyres. So that's interesting. Roger, as far as I can see, is the only one who has actually plumped for some new tyres there. So let's see if that makes any difference to his race. Oh, so I'm just watching Troy Allen. He's taking tyres as well. So I think Allen and Roger Clark were the only two who took tyres in that round. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens here. Let's see if they've got that pace advantage that they're obviously hoping for with this.
Yeah, Mark Gow's also throwing tyres on it, as is Norman Clark. I knew Norman would go for a fresh set of tyres, so he's throwing tyres on as well. So these are all the guys up the tail end, you know, and we're saying if we're up, like if I was up there, I would have done it. Maybe they were listening, maybe they know something more, and they decided to roll that dice. As you said, Edward, it's going to be interesting now to see how these guys go on this restart.
Yeah, and the lights are out on the safety car, so we're expecting, I believe, a green flag this time round. And we'll see how close the other guys want to run him going back down into that turn one. You can see Sloggett already looking racy, even though he's not allowed to overtake. He's going to have a look. So let's see what they do. It's going to be an interesting run into turn one. Of course, it is a single file restart for this form of racing. So, but they really need to be up on each other. If they want to be gaining any positions on this restart, and it is a golden opportunity to do that. It's probably the best opportunity of the race to actually do that. These guys need to be right on each other as that pace car goes in. They need to be right on each other's bumpers, ready to try and catch the other guy out. So let's see if somebody can manage it. Let's see if anybody puts a move down into turn one as the pace car dives in. Just watching Jeremiah Morton at the moment. He's gone early. He's put his foot right down, and the top three have gone. You can see Sloggett going there, Foster right there with him. I think Bell might have been a little bit asleep. He has dropped right off the back of Foster. Foster may be looking to have a look onto Sloggett. He is going for it. No. Sloggett's got him covered off. That top three have absolutely bolted.
Yeah, you can see McKnight there all over the back of Bell. We've got a car off in the background there. I think that was Stevens again. It was Stevens. Straight into the tyre barrier he goes.
Oh, I think it's been quite a not the best race for Daniel Stevens, having run off quite a few times.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and have a look at that restart, and we can see just as he gets back on the track, that was Gow and Roger Clark there going side by side. But let's jump back and have a look. There was actually another car involved in that, but Stevens went the other way this time, and he's decided to hit the inside tyre barrier. Of course, once you get loose on these things into the grass, there's no coming back from it. And as we've seen tonight, he's basically lost it coming in. Well, it wasn't him, it was his sister car that's actually lost it, and he's been tagged as he's come across the track. It looks like Kinmon's gotten to the side of Stevens, and Stevens has just found that tyre barrier, and if it wasn't for that, he probably would have been back on track. I'm just trying to work out the car that the other one was that started all that.
Jonathan Ben going a bit slidey there, turning inside while Daniel Stevens, he went to the inside of Jonathan Ben, snapped him on the right front there, and there they went.
Yeah, and we can see there Daniel Stevens is bringing that car in for service, as is Ben. I'd expect that after a big hit like that, Edward, that no doubt their steering's possibly bent.
Yeah, and it's a shame, especially for Dan Stevens. I believe he's actually already used his fast repair, so that's going to make things very, very difficult. He obviously aiming for a great spot in the championship tonight, and it's just not worked out for him. He's having an absolute shocker. Just looking up and down the field, of course, having just come off that safety car, we've got some great battles going on. Not necessarily the closest, but certainly the most significant in terms of the overall race result. We've got Foster trying to chase down Sloggett. There's some parts on the circuit where he's quicker than Kai. There's some parts on the track where Kai actually extends that gap on him. But Foster's going to be looking to put all the pressure on the same way that he did to Stevens earlier on and try to force a mistake out of Kai. But having seen Kai race these things, that is going to be a tall order.
Yeah, it certainly is, and these guys will be used to slogging it out because they normally you see them also in the ANSCAR series having a race, so they'll pretty much know each other's driving styles, as we see now Sloggett coming through turn 1, leading the BMW there of Foster.
Yeah, so these guys are sort of running quite closely. I can see James just seems to be understeering a little bit more than Sloggett is. So it could be something down to the aero wake off the car in front, just affecting the aero going across the nose of that BMW. But James is not letting him go. He's especially in the slower corners. He's really getting up his tailpipe. So I did also just see a car off to the side there. I don't believe it was Morton. I think Morton's still stroking away serenely in front, about 2.5 seconds up the road from this battle.
Yeah, that's Jonathan Benoff again. I think he was getting out of the way of the field and just letting them all go through. He's rejoined now and back up to speed.
Yeah, so just looking down through the pack, Kidmon and Devantia are still going at it. Kidmon's actually got a fair bit of speed. We did see him run off earlier on. The reason he was sort of down in that pack. Devantia, as we've spoken about already, he had a bad qualifying, but he's worked his way up to 7th place at the moment. He's definitely got eyes on the back of that Mercedes in front of him. And it's a bit of a train of cars at the moment, actually. You've got Blair Walton there in the BMW. You've got Mitchell Bales. He's been off the track a couple of times back there in the AMG. And then you've got Troy Allen behind them. So it's a nice little train forming here.
Yes, we're riding on the roll bar here is Sam Deventia, and as he gets to turn 1, he peaked at 272 kilometres an hour, washing down to 230 kilometres an hour through turn 1.
It's such a fast track. There's such a fast track. We see it here in the MotoGP, V8 supercars, and everything else that comes here is you've just got that fast flowing layout that all the drivers love so much, and it's epic here in a car with high downforce. A car with high downforce around a track like this, loads of these long sweeping fast bends, really lets you extend the legs, and it's an absolute pleasure to race a car like this around a circuit like this. Everybody's going to be loving it.
Yeah, well, these cars are pretty much designed to race on circuits like this. I know I'd get your opinion on this, Edward and Weehan, but this sort of layout reminds me very much of a European style of circuit.
Yeah, more of an old school European style of circuit. You know, if you look at the old Oostenrijk ring, for example, was incredibly fast. The old Silverstone layout was very fast. The old Hockenheim was very fast. Monza's still, and there are loads of tracks like that. Oh, Deventia's gone round, so he actually cut off halfway through that. But Deventia has actually lost it just going into the last corner. So all that hard work that he's done, bringing himself up the field, is going to be undone, and he's just looking for a gap to get back on without compromising anybody else. Decides to back it up a little bit. It looks like he's going to rejoin just behind Darren Goosey, who is a few laps down. So yeah, big shame for him. He looked like he was on for a decent result.
Yeah, and we're riding on the roll bar there. He's just run wide, as we can see, and just come back across there. These cars really don't like the dirt. And Blair Walton, you could see him in the background. I don't think Blair even lifted. He just kept it flat to the boards. But he must have known he was going to clear it. The battle, though, continues here. Kai Sloggett and James Foster here battling it out in the background. You can see Jamie McKnight trying to close up on these two.
It's going to be interesting when Jamie actually catches up to these two, because that is going to make it a three-way fight. It is almost a three-way fight at the moment. I'd say another couple of laps, Jamie is going to be right up with this, and it's going to be interesting to see, because that's going to give Foster two problems now. You know, for lap on lap on lap on lap, he's only been worrying about Sloggett. He's just been looking at closing that gap up to the tail of that AMG. Now he's got another one in his mirrors. He's got another AMG. That three-pointed star is going to be coming up, looming large in his rear-view mirror. And now he's got to defend and attack at the same time. Well, the other two only have one job. One has got to attack. The other one's only got to defend, because he's got nothing in front of him. So it's going to give him a headache. It's definitely going to give him a headache and something to think about once Jamie gets up there.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not only the Mercedes, it's a series leader looming down on your tailpipe there. So yeah, he's gonna get a bit of a headache from this, no doubt. But hopefully it's a good kind of headache, the ice cream headache. But one can only wait and wonder.
Oh, there's nothing good about an ice cream headache, Bernie, but just to go back on what we were talking about before, you know, this style of circuit, how well suited it is very much like those older European style circuits with the fast flowing nature that we used to see, even, you know, the old Spa, more than perhaps the modern stuff that you see, which has more tight technical sections. So definitely, you know, you wouldn't probably want to race these cars around somewhere tight and twisty like Monaco, but a circuit like this really just allows the cars to stretch their legs and high downforce and everything like that. They're great fun to drive around here. So regardless of where anyone finishes tonight, I doubt anyone's going to be that upset with the night's racing, because it's just such an enjoyable activity.
Oh, exactly right. And a lot of the guys here have jumped in tonight just to farewell the RacingLeagues.com league, so they'll just be happy to be out there having a run and enjoying the Saturday night, hooning around a track, and what better way of spending it. But Weehan, have you been driving around Phillip Island, and if you have, what's your thoughts on the circuit?
Phillip Island, I think this is a circuit which is perhaps a classic mix of high speed, low speed, and a track also with elevation changes at the right points for it to pose a good challenge to the drivers. And this track is a bit of a love-hate for me, because I think, in addition to what Edward said, for this track being a classic European style track with flow and requiring a lot of downforce, I think it's all about the sort of flow and rhythm that you want to bring about as you go along this track, because you may be you're either able to do this very well if you have the right flow, or if you're not careful, you may find that you'll be thrown off at certain corners if you're not careful.
Sorry, just to jump in there, guys. We just had Blair Walton and James Bell. They're in a fantastic battle with Bales and Allen. And I think Walton's gone off and Bell's just followed him. So they've both gone out into the grass. They've both rejoined. Status quo between them, but they've obviously lost some time on the guys ahead.
Yeah, just have a look at that on the replay. We just had cross to these two when you said that, and see if we can pick up where they've gone off.
And just while you're looking at that, Bernie, we've also got James Foster into the lane for his second stop, so potentially a strategic move from him there. He's actually driven at this circuit himself in real life as well, so in an Audi R8, so he'll be comparing it to real life, no doubt.
Who was that?
Little brother, James Foster.
Oh, okay. That must be amazing to get to drive around this track in real life.
Yeah, he was very impressed by it. Absolutely, really impressed by it as a layout. He says it's out in the middle of nowhere. You don't expect Phillip Island to be such a small place, but he says it's a very small place, but the circuit's fantastic. And he rejoins in 11th moment, right behind his old mate, Roger Clark.
Yeah, and meanwhile, James Bell and Blair Walton are continuing this battle here. Looked like from the replay, Blair got it sideways and James joined him in sympathy there, and they both went off on the infield. So I'm not sure if James jumped on the brakes and spun it, but he's back on the case now with Blair Walton. The other thing Phillip Island's very famous for is the penguins. A lot of people come down here to see the penguins coming in each evening and running up the beach.
Yeah, I wonder if they're used to the sound of race cars yet. You know, it's. I wonder if they all go and hide when there are events on here. I know that at racetracks around the country, you can see some local bird life and so on, just sitting there on the concrete barrier with race cars whizzing past them only a couple of feet away at 200k an hour, and it doesn't faze them whatsoever. So I wonder if the penguins have developed the same tolerance for racing cars.
I couldn't tell you. I would suggest they probably wouldn't sit on fences, but I think they might be down on the beach sunbaking. Who knows? But it's a good question. We should go down and interview some and find out.
Yeah, well, if you can get any sense out of a penguin, that'd be handy. But just in the meantime, we've actually seen Bill make that move on Walton as well, so it'll be interesting to see if he can extend that gap.
Yeah, and then right behind him is Roger Clark. Remember, folks, he threw tyres on under safety car. He's now up to 9th position, and as he runs off on cue. So every time we speak about him, they run off. But his last lap was a 1:27.355, and he was pulling in probably about 0.6 of a second over Blair Walton.
Yeah, he's doing well. He's doing well, Roger as well. You know, he's out there at the moment. He's had one stop. I think he's actually just diving to the lane, just as I say that. So he's pulling down out of 10th place. That's going to spare James the problem of coming up behind him at the very least. And as you just see him go past onto the front straight. So we'll see Clark in the pits. He pitted under the safety car, remember, and took tyres. So I'd definitely be expecting this green flag stop to be a quick splash of fuel, enough to get him home through the last 17 minutes of this race, and he'll be on his way.
Yeah, definitely, and we're just under the 20-minute mark, so this would be scheduled pit stops, the final stops going through. I'm just having a look at, there's a very beat-up Ferrari in there. I'm trying to work, it's Steve O'Connor, and he's gone 4 laps down, and I'd suggest, is it Steve O'Connor? Yes. Darren Goosey also, he's back out there. We saw him in trouble exiting the pits. I suggest he might have had problems with his pit limiter. We've seen that a few times. They get stuck on, and that could have been why he was so slow.
Yeah, that thing of O'Connor's looking like a crumpled up bit of tinfoil at the moment, so I'm not sure if he's got his fast repair remaining or not. If he hasn't, he is in a world of trouble. But just in the meantime, as these pit stops cycle through, Jeremiah Morton, our race leader, has gone to the lane. Jamie McKnight has assumed the lead, so position he's accustomed with. He's going to be trying to, remember, he was actually coming up behind the battle between Sloggett and Foster. Sloggett has also pitted and has been leapfrogged by Foster and Deventia as well in the process. So we've got Jamie McKnight out the front by around about 10 seconds at the moment. So he's going to be trying to use this clear track. He's going to be hitting qualifying laps at the moment. He's going to be going as fast as he can to try and leapfrog those 2 cars that were in front of him. So let's see how many laps he can actually do on his own before he's got to come to the lane as well. Just put a splash of fuel in and give him the run home. It'll be interesting to see how all the positions shake out.
Yeah, it definitely will be. And of course, the final stops here are generally very short ones. We can see Jeremiah Morton. Well, he did a 13.8 second stop, which is pretty much the same as what they did first time. I guess, they're going to have to throw the same amount of fuel in, aren't they? Because they can only fill to 30%.
Yeah, that's right. And I think something may have actually happened with Sloggett while we were sort of covering off the pit stops. He's in the lane, I believe. No, he's actually back out on track, but he's dropped all the way back down to 11th place. He was a pole sitter tonight, of course. He's down in 11th. He's not actually that far ahead of Sam Deventia, who actually had that spin earlier on and fell all the way to the back. So something has gone quite wrong for Kai Sloggett, and I'm not actually sure what it is. But he is well out of the fight. We've got Morton, I believe, effectively leading this race with it being pretty borderline when the stops shake out between McKnight and Foster. But Sloggett, who was right in that battle, has just dropped out of it. And I have to say, I'm not 100% sure what's happened to him.
Yeah, having a look at Kai Sloggett, I think at the previous lap 28 at around the 3rd sector of the circuit, he went up the hill and he went a bit, he slid off over there as he lost his balance. Yeah,
that's going to be a shame for them in that case, because remember, they were frustrated they had last race. They had both he and Stevens had an excellent strategy. They felt that was good enough to really put them up there at the end. They both made mistakes, which really compromised them. And they were, Dan Stevens in particular, he was saying to us that he felt the strategy was bang on. They just didn't execute it properly, and unfortunately, that seems to have struck them both again tonight. So, bit of a shame for them, but they'll keep plugging on, and we'll see where they get at the end. McKnight just actually coming around, and McKnight into the lane. So this is going to be really interesting to see where James Foster comes through. James is actually at the moment he's coming up to that last complex. I'm sure, Bernie, you can tell me exactly what that complex is called. But Jamie is in the lane at the moment, and it's going to be touch and go. It's really going to be touch and go whether he's gained enough to actually leapfrog James through these pit stops.
Yeah, no. While you were talking about that, Edward, we're having a look at Kai Sloggett there, and you're dead right there. Weehan, he basically lost it coming up into. Now I've lost my track map. Lukey Heights, he lost it.
This is really close. This is really close between Foster and McKnight. McKnight coming down the pit lane, and Foster going to the inside of turn one. They come out side by side, and Foster actually keeps that position. They came out exactly. We wanted to know how close these guys were going to be when the pit stops shook out, and it turned out they were at exactly the same place. So McKnight did make time during those pit stops, but not quite enough.
In fact, it looked like McKnight might have just touched the brakes slightly as he re-entered there, and Foster charged by, but he'll get back up to speed now. And I know Jamie pretty well. I reckon he's just going to give up the ghost at this point and just let James run off with it. What do you think?
Oh, don't say that. We've got a battle on our hands. We've got an absolute battle on our hands. Let's not forget, Jamie McKnight is the series leader, likely going to be the series champion on the strength of tonight. And he's got James in front of him. And I can tell you that what James is probably his greatest skill in a car is that of defending. So he is going to be really hard to pass. I think Jamie's going to have the pace advantage. That was proved as the pit stop cycled through. But James is not going to be easy to pass. I can absolutely guarantee he is going to make it very, very difficult for even a driver of James' calibre.
Yeah, exactly. And that was sarcasm, by the way, guys. Jamie won't give up. He will chase James from here to Adelaide and back if he has to try to get that position. See, I know where we are in the world. That's why I'm using Adelaide, Tasmania.
All those various points around Australia. They just actually come through. Both Foster and McKnight have come through to lap the Audi of Darren Goosey, who's still circulating out there at the moment. So obviously he's playing nice. There's going to be a lot more traffic these two have got to get through, and that could be pivotal in deciding this battle, because you've got to try and guess in advance what the traffic's going to do. Sometimes they're nice, they get on the radio and tell you, and sometimes they just sit mid-track and you don't know where they're going to go. So that can all play into how this battle's going to shake out.
Yeah, 11 minutes to go here, and we're getting down to the business end at the moment. Jeremiah Morton is leading this race, folks. 9 seconds, but the race is on. As you can see, James Foster in the BMW just ahead of Jamie McKnight. Fourth position, we might as well go through the top 10 here, is Gavin Cox. He's 8.8 seconds down from Jamie, and Gavin's the first of the Ferraris. Then we've got Mitchell Bales. He's sitting in fifth at the moment in the Mercedes. Then James Bell, also in a Ferrari, sitting in sixth, some 13 seconds down from Mitchell. Kai Sloggett, he's recovering from that spin, and he's in seventh position. Blair Walton, he's up 5 positions from where he started in eighth. Ninth is Roger Clark, and 10th, Troy Allen.
Yeah, it's been a really good field, and it's good to see that most of them are out there still running. There's a few guys which are running laps down at the moment, which is, it's to be expected in a race of this length. Things happen, people run into various obstacles along the way. But, we've still got excellent battles going along up the front. Bell and Sloggett are running very, very close together at the moment as well. There's obviously this fantastic battle going on for second place at the moment, which is going to be pivotal for both these guys in the outcome of the race, the outcome of this battle. We've got got Roger Clark and Troy Allen running very close together as well. Allen looks as though he's all over Clark at the moment and just trying to probe and find any weaknesses in Clark's defence, which is going to allow him to make that move and get past. And it's just been a fantastic night's racing. We did think that it was going to be nice and close. We're going to get some battles up and down the field, and it's turned out that way. It's been a fantastic way to send this series off.
Yeah, it definitely is, as we're riding now on the nose cam, I guess you could call it, of Jamie McKnight here. And we'll stay with this, folks, just to give you an idea how fast these cars are as they come through off Gardner Strait down towards Southern Loop.
And James is going to be watching his mirrors, but he's also, one of his sort of philosophies when he's defending is, I can't go any faster. He's faster than me, otherwise he wouldn't have caught me in the first place. So he just concentrates on hitting his marks. He doesn't worry too much about the car behind him until it gets right up behind him and is in a position to make a move. When it is in a position to make a move, he tries to actually break their momentum. He tries to slow up in odd spots, slow down a little bit more than he may do on the apex of a corner, then jump on the throttle at a place the car behind may not be expecting. He's not looking to chase down Jeremiah Morton. Morton is gone. He is looking to keep Jamie McKnight behind him at the moment, and he's got a bag full of tricks to try and do that. But I tell you what, a driver the calibre of Jamie McKnight is going to be more than a match for him, and this battle is going to be absolutely fantastic to watch as you see McKnight just getting into that zone now where James is going to start to try playing tricks on him. He's going to try and start backing him up, making him guess, making him second guess himself as McKnight has a look down the inside there and James just crosses over his nose. So this one's on. This one is absolutely on.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I'm going to be quiet for a bit here, Weehan. Let you get some commentary practice in for tonight's SRA.
Right, fantastic. Now we still have Jamie McKnight. He sits behind James Foster here in P3 as they now approach first corner. Jamie McKnight, no, not close enough to make move here now as they come towards turn 2, Edward.
Yeah, they're running very, very closely together, aren't they? And, that, like I say, that's in that we saw Jamie flashing the lights at James as they come down the main straight. I'm not sure what he's expecting to actually happen there because I can guarantee you there's absolutely no way James is going to be moving over. But you can see Jamie sizing him up there. He's going for a look. He looks to be stronger into the heavy braking zones, and James is going to try and hold it around the outside as Jamie goes to the inside. And James holding on the outside. They're going to have to give each other space, but it looks as though Jamie has got that move done. And he actually got it done a lot earlier than I thought he was going to. I thought that battle was going to rage on for a little while longer, but McKnight's super good under brakes, super confident under brakes, and has just managed to get that move done. So it's going to be interesting to see how much he can extend now on James. I think the next car behind Foster is going to be Gavin Cox, and he's a good way off. So I think James is going to try and hang in, try and pressure McKnight into a mistake, but pressuring Jamie McKnight, mistake, it doesn't normally go in the same sentence. So I think he may be on a hiding to nothing there, and he may be in for P3 tonight.
Absolutely, and that move brings Jamie McKnight up to P2 as James Foster now settles for third place. Is he going to hang on to the rear end of Jamie McKnight? As I think Gavin Cox in P4 is perhaps more than 13 seconds behind him, so he should be safe even within the P3 right now, as he's got Jamie McKnight just slightly under 1 second. Oh, he goes a bit. Loses a bit of balance there, and now he's off.
Yeah, he's just made a bit of a mistake there, and that has really put an end to any possibility of him grabbing that second place back. I think that was probably over anyway. He didn't have the raw pace of McKnight to get that done. But I'm just looking back in the field now that battle sort of resolved itself. We've got Kai Sloggett there and James Bell running very, very close together. And I think that's actually our best battle on the circuit at the moment is these two. So I don't know, Weehan, if you want to just have a bit of a chat about these two and what's likely going to be going through the minds of each one of these guys as they try to bring home the best possible result for their respective teams.
Well, by the looks of it, there's only 5 minutes of racing left to go, but there is 1 second, I guess half a second of a gap between James and Kai. So not too sure how they'll perform, but Kai does have the pace, so I might be more confident that Kai may be able to hold his position well as they head towards the final 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, Bell's put up a very good fight. You know, he qualified 10th. And of course, Sloggett's had his issues tonight. But yeah, there's Bell running up there in 7th place. He's made a lot of spots over where he started. Another one I'll give a shout out to. He started way back in 17th place. Old mate Roger Clark. He's right up there in the top 10 at the moment, and he doesn't profess to have any kind of expertise in these cars at all, but he did want to come out and put on a good show for the final race of this season. He's made 7 spots, and he's sitting up there in the top 10. I haven't really seen him get involved in too much nonsense tonight. His strategy's been solid, and I think he's done a really good job.
Absolutely, he sits in 10th now, although, he sits in 10th now, right behind Troy Allen, and he goes into the pits. Of course, great to see Roger Clark coming in for a good race tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be running on almost no sleep anyway. He's got the new baby in the house at the moment. I think he's actually just come down the pit lane, so he's obviously going to need... it happened to me last week as well. You just start talking someone up and they need to put in a splash of fuel to get home. But he's only going to drop down as far as about 11th place, I believe. So even if it's not a top 10, he's just taken a very quick splash of fuel, so maybe a slight miscalculation from him there earlier on. But he's coming back out. He's got a straight car and he's going to have a solid finish tonight. So for a guy who's probably operating on about 5 minutes sleep with a new baby in the house, he's done a pretty good job, I think. So shout out to him.
Absolutely great racing there by Roger Clark today, and I think that pit stop has set him back perhaps 2 positions.
Yeah, I think he only dropped the 1. He was in 10th place, and I think he's dropped down to 11th. I think everybody else is a lap down, so I think he'd be the next car to actually drop a lap should Jeremiah Morton be able to catch him, who's just stroking serenely away up front at the moment, just ticking off the laps, sticking off the minutes, and he's going to bring home most likely. And I do not want to commentators curse him, so I'm going to say if he manages to bring it home, he's going to have an absolutely well-deserved victory because he's driven fantastically well tonight.
Absolutely does seem like he has led for a large, I think even the majority of the race tonight, because I think he has all the pace to be able to finish, come home with a good position tonight, and of course he's probably well set up right now for that.
Yeah, we were saying earlier on as well that James Foster, he wasn't going to have too many issues from cars behind. Of course, he did have that slide off the track, and now he's only about a second away from Gavin Cox. So it's going to be interesting to see if Gavin's. I don't think that James picked up too much damage in that, but he's got Norman Clark all over the back of him, and he doesn't seem to have a lot of pace at the moment. His last lap 1:31, but I also believe that's the lap he possibly spun on. So. It'll be interesting if Gavin's able to get to him, if he's able to actually attack and potentially do something about deposing Foster from the podium.
Well, as you were saying that, I think Jeremiah Morton, he's gone into the pits and he's lost, I think he went in for a quick change or drop of fuel, and he's lost his race lead to Jamie McKnight.
Okay, well that's a new one as well. So I know Jamie should be fine on fuel because Jamie pitted a long time after these other guys. So James is actually starting to fall right back. I think he's trying to fuel save to the end. I don't think he wants to come into the pits again. He's dropped back to 5th place behind Cox and Mitchell Bales. So perhaps he's trying to fuel save. He's got no pace at the moment whatsoever. So he may be trying to hold on for the end and just fuel save and just do everything he can to eke out those last little litres of fuel to get him home, and see if these other guys don't run out in front of him, which the Ferrari just seems to have gone off in front of him. That may be a fuel issue, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's Steve O'Connor coming back out onto the circuit. So he was in getting a service. Down to 57 seconds here now, folks. So Jeremiah Morton, as you guys have said, had to come in for a splash of fuel. Jamie has not. So he might steal the win here from Jeremiah Morton.
Well, he's got a lap to go, doesn't he? And I mean, he's played this strategy absolutely perfectly. It seems like there's quite a few guys that really kind of misjudged their fuel. There's a couple of guys we saw, obviously, Morton make that mistake. Roger Clark came in for a splash there as well. James, I think, is trying to get those, James Foster trying to get those last little fumes to get that BMW home. So just when you think it's all over and all settled, we were just saying Jeremiah Morton's going to bring home a well-deserved victory. Well, it's looking in doubt now. So it's never over till it's over.
Oh, man, I think it's another case of commentators curse again tonight.
Yeah,
you can't curse a guy for running out of fuel. That's his own calculation. That's not me.
Yeah, James Foster's just in as we get the last lap board now, so he was on fumes, as you've said. So Jamie McKnight gets the white flag as he's coming up now towards Lukey Heights for the final time here, guys. I'll let you guys call it.
No problems at all. So, Weehan, do you want to call him home? He's done an excellent job tonight, Jamie McKnight, and if he's got enough fuel in the tank, which I believe he is, he's going to come cruising home. So maybe you'd like to talk him across the line.
Right, absolutely. So, over a night of racing there with Jeremiah Morton, of course, slight miscalculation there. He's ceding the victory to Jamie McKnight as he now comes home first. He wins here at the season finale here at Phillip Island. He comes home first, series leader. I think he's going to win this championship. And Jeremiah Morton, 11 seconds behind him, and he has to settle for second after leading the majority of his race. Gavin Cox comes home in third with about 6 seconds gap behind Jeremiah, and Mitchell Bales, he settles for fourth.
Yeah, they've all done an excellent job. I mean, these are guys who mid-race after we saw Mitchell Bales pit with all that damage, James Bell had his issues tonight, Slogger had his issues tonight, and there they are. They've pulled it on strategy and solid driving, good consistent pace, and they've pulled out a fourth, a fifth and a sixth out of it, whereas guys who were running probably closer up the front, Sam DeVenti was looking spectacular there for a while. James Foster looks like he's going to come home 10th. What a way for the race to just turn itself on its head in the final minutes. It's never over till it's over, this GT3 racing. Absolutely amazing. These strategic and fuel battles and everything that go on, as well as what's going on the track. There's just so many dimensions to this type of racing. And but you know, the more they change, the more they stay the same. And Jamie McKnight taking home yet another very well-deserved victory from 10 seconds over Jeremiah Morton.
Yeah, and that will definitely guarantee that he will take the championship. He's been series leader. We'll bring up and have a look before we go to full race results, just the point score here. See Blair Walton, he was sitting in second, and he's come home. Where did he come home?
At least seventh place, Bernie.
Seventh place, and Daniel Stevens third, and Daniel Stevens, he had a bit of a rough one there, and we'll see if Gavin Cox coming home in third has actually have jumped him there.
Yeah. So there were some great drives and there were some absolute shockers. Yeah, you know, Dan Stevens definitely would have wanted to be finishing better than 9 laps down in 15th place. But, you know, there's other guys like Wayne Pingilly. He was very fast at the beginning of the race. Let's not forget Jordan McDonnell as well. You know, he's one of the guys that I tipped earlier on. Commentator's curse, apologies to him. But tipped him for the win earlier on, and he ended up making that error and going off as well. So, yeah, it's some very fancy runners, some very fast guys actually finishing a fair way down. And it's just been a mix-up all over the field. And but Jamie McKnight, as ever, up there in first place, judging it to perfection.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll go through the full results here, folks, as the drivers just bring their cars back to the pits. And stay with us, though. There's some more, as Jeremiah Morton there just runs out of fuel. Coming out of, yes, he's run out of fuel. That's how close they are. But let's go through the full results here, folks, so you can see where your favourite driver has finished tonight. So the win goes to Jamie McKnight, up 4 positions. He only led 6 laps, but that's all you need to do to take the win. Jeremiah Morton comes home in second, and as you saw, folks, fuel strategy played a big part in that. Gavin Cox, he comes home in third, and followed by Mitchell Bales in fourth. James Bell finishes in fifth with Troy Allen sixth. Seventh tonight goes to Blair Walton, and then Kai Sloggett finishes in 8th position. Sam DeVenti up 5 positions to come home in 9th. James Foster, also out of fuel on the last lap, comes home in 10th. Roger Clark, he comes home in 11th with Mark Gow finishing in 12th. 13th tonight is Norman Clark, followed by Darren Goosey in 14th. Daniel Stevens, he comes home in 15th. Jonathan Ben 16th. Steve O'Connor, 17th. David Kinmont, he finishes in 18th. 19th is Wayne Pengilly. He was classified and he was one of our retirements. And Jordan McDonnell, after that big off, finishes in 20th. As far as the drive of the night goes here, folks, it looks like it goes to Gavin Cox, who finished third in the Ferrari.
Yeah, fantastic result for him. And he's one of those guys who only ever pops up at the end. You know, we haven't really spoken too much about him last week. This week, he was kind of running around about sort of the midfield, upper midfield, lower midfield. And then at the end of the race, it turns out he's judged the whole thing perfectly and he's up there on the podium again. So he's definitely got this GT3 style of racing absolutely down pat because, he just pops in there at the end and he's on the podium again. Fantastic work.
Yeah, and we heard from your brother down there in Pit Road. He basically said his strategy didn't work, but he had nothing to lose. He wasn't racing for points, so he just went for it. So that was James Foster in the pit lane. But we should bring Gavin Cox up. And did you guys want to have an interview with him?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have a chat with him, and maybe then Weehan will have a chat with the next driver.
Sounds good.
Welcome, Gavin Cox. We were just saying that for the second week in a row, we haven't seen too much of you. You've been kind of around the midfield. It was a fairly midfield sort of qualifying effort as well, but once again you judge it perfectly and just pop in there. Just all of a sudden, there's Gavin Cox on the podium right at the end of the race. How do you judge what other guys can't?
I'm not sure. I've found a little bit of confidence with the setup now, and I can actually push a little harder, which sort of opens up the strategy for me a little bit to push a little bit longer. I ran the fuel down a little bit in the first two stints, so I knew I'd have a short stop at the end to try and leapfrog a few.
Yeah, it seemed to be a case tonight. There are a lot of guys sort of running off the track, making mistakes. There were some big accidents, there were some little spins and things like that, but everybody seemed to have an issue of one type or another. And I'd say that there's maybe only one or two guys on the track who had what you would call a clean race, and you appeared to be one of those. I mean, was it a very clean race from your perspective? Did everything just sort of run to plan, or was it more a case of trying to avoid the carnage? Did you run into any issues at all?
Look, I tried to stay out of the initial start lap there, and knew there'd be a few little niggles here and there, but I just sort of settled into my pace then, and I had a pretty clean run, except I had one little incident with James in MG corner there. Stuck my nose down. I don't know if he saw me or not, but he sort of come across me and I ended up spinning him, so apologies to James.
Okay, so yeah, even our third place finisher had a couple of little niggles tonight. So just shows how tough this place is. An hour around here is certainly a long time to concentrate, and you really have to hold it right there on that razor's edge to be fast around here. So to just sort of pop up out of nowhere and take a podium, you've got to be very happy with that. It's a great way to finish off the series, and I imagine that you'll have very fond memories of this particular series with the way you've managed to end it.
Yeah, really keen to do some more running, and the HRS Ferrari was really, really hooked up tonight, and I just dialed it back a little bit and drove with him myself because I knew it was such a difficult race and there's just so many places to run off here.
Yeah, well, fantastic job anyway, mate. So have you got anybody that you'd like to thank, sponsors you want to give a shout out to, teammates, anyone like that?
My team owner, Steve O'Connor, SRT, thanks for inviting me into the team, and the Hybrid Racing Simulations, who let me put their logo all over their car. Many thanks.
Yeah, well, I think Mr. O'Connor's pulled an absolute masterstroke by putting you in that Ferrari, mate, because you've done an absolutely brilliant job. So thanks very much, and we will see you again around the traps, I'm sure.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much, and thanks for broadcasting too.
So that was Gavin Cox, folks, coming home in third position. Before we go to the next interview, we just heard from Sam Deventia in the pit road there. He was basically said to congratulate Jamie. They continued on with issues. He had a spin, a few offs tonight, and the last pit stop on entry hit the wall coming in. So as we were saying at the start-up, they were scrambling to get that setup right. They felt they did get it a bit better, but I think Sam still wasn't happy with the handling of that car.
Yeah, it's certainly not a place where you want to be without, you really want to have the car hooked up around here. The corners are so fast. If she's ploughing on forwards or oversteering, then you're in a world of trouble. So to bring it home where he did, he's done an excellent job. So we're going to bring the nenext guy up. Yeah, the next one's Jeremiah Morton, and Weehan, you can interview him. And
all right, bring it. Yeah.
He'll probably be in the right mood for an interview. You might want to ask him about that fuel.
Yeah, sure. Hello, Jeremiah. Welcome to the post-race interview. So your race tonight. So close, but yet so far. Hello?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't think he's there.
Yeah.
We'll move him back down, I think. Okay, so
right.
Yeah, what we're going to do next, folks, is we're going to bring Dan and Steve up. Dan Stevens and Steve are the two folks behind this great series. What's going to happen next is we're going to go through a bit of a lucky draw, I think it is, with all the drivers, because as the series went, they got entries for their performance. And, well, I'm going to bring the guys up and they can tell you all about what the guys could get.
How are you standing in the championship?
Hi, Dan. Hi, Steve. How you going, guys? Are you ready to do this?
Yeah, mate. We are ready to set.
Awesome. So we're just saying that we're going to go through and do a bit of a draw. Did you want to tell the viewers a little bit more about what this is?
Yeah, mate. During the course of the season, right from race one, we had a bit of a ticket system that every driver that got on the grid, they got themselves a ticket to the draw. If they managed to finish the race, they got themselves a ticket to the draw as well. Podium places like 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, and 3 got 3 tickets, 2 tickets, and 1 ticket. You also got another ticket if you got 0 incident points and fastest lap of the race, and it just built up over the series.
Fantastic. So what do they win? Or are you going to tell us that as we draw out each prize?
No, I'll tell you right now, mate. So the winner of the draw, and they have to be in Discord at the moment, waiting in the Oceanic room. They have to be on site to win the prize, which is a $100 New Zealand dollars for iRacing voucher.
Fantastic. So let's get this competition underway then. As you can see, folks, you'll see it on the screen being drawn. So we're going to generate a random number from 1, and what's the highest number?
482.
482. And we're only drawing out one number, is that correct?
Yeah, mate. Bernie is from 100 to 482.
So between 100 and 482. So what do? Hit go? Is that what we do? And then let's try it. Is that what I do?
Yep, whichever number comes up, mate, is the person.
Okay, so the lucky winner is number 387. Let's have a look and see who that is. Let's go down and have a look at this. 387. Would you believe it's Jamie McKnight?
Funny you say that, because that guy got himself a bucket load of tickets during the season, eh?
Yeah. So there you go. He doesn't only take the series. It looks like he's winning, but as you can see, folks, on the screen, you can see the number we did draw, and Jamie takes the prize.
Yeah, unfortunate Jamie is not in the room because he was excluded from that rule because he's got another race straight after this one. So he did mention that to me before we started, which I okayed it.
Okay, so that's so you guys have sorted all that out.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I'll let him know at the end of his next race that he's got. So I don't want to. I might tell him during the race. He might get all excited.
Tell him if you're right behind him and watch him crash in excitement. So, yeah, but fantastic series this has been, guys, and I'm going to let you both have the last words for tonight, because unfortunately this will be the last time we'll see the Oceanic GT series being run by RacingLeagues.com. So it's sad to see it fold, but I'll hand over to you, Dan and Steve, and you guys can tell us all about the series and the highs and lows of it.
Well, I'll hand this one over to Steve.
I suppose from our side, it's just a big thank you to everybody that turned up week in and week out. It'll be the last Oceanic GT series. However, Dan himself has been having a bit of a chat beforehand, and we are looking to do something else shortly, which we will announce within the next week or so. So if everybody keeps an eye on it, and those of us that want to get stuck in and do some racing, more than welcome to join us again for the next one.
That's fantastic news, because I was really worried that that the racing leagues was going to close altogether. But that's awesome news to hear. You guys have something up being planned, so I look forward to hearing more about that. But Dan, I tell you what, it was great racing throughout the season, and the boys definitely came out to play tonight. We had 20 drivers turn up, and it was good stuff.
Yeah, I did promise you last week, mate, that I'd try to get some numbers onto the grid tonight, and it turned out really, really well. I was really, really happy about it. Unfortunately, my race didn't go too well.
No, you had a shocker.
Put it lightly, mate.
Yeah. Well, you were pretty consistent. You crashed on the same corner. You decided you're going to try the outside, then the next time you decided, well, with a bit of help, try the inside.
Yeah, old Jono, he's a bit upset about that one, but that's racing. It's all good.
Yeah, that's it. And Steve, what racing have you got planned, mate? You got any more coming up that you're going to be running in?
Not just yet. We're just going to set some planning up and see what we are going to run next. I don't really race outside of this; just don't get the time. But yeah, looking forward to next season and see what we can do and bring the fun back into it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Having fun. And I know all the guys out there tonight would have had a lot of fun, and we definitely had fun calling it. I had Edward Foster up here in the combox with me, as well as Weehan Chan, and I know Edward definitely had a good time.
Absolutely. How can you not? What a fantastic series you guys run here. I know you've been doing it for a number of years, so it's no surprise that it is as good as it is. But it looks to run absolutely fantastically, and I'm thrilled to hear that you guys are potentially got a future, and that you may be kicking things along in some capacity, so that's fantastic. Also, I believe that Jeremiah Morton has resolved his mic issues, so we may even attempt to rehash that interview we attempted earlier between Weehan and Jeremiah, if we've got time.
Yeah, we've got time, and we'll just finish up having a chat with Dan and Steve. I think we're pretty much done. Before we let you two go, have you got anyone you'd like to thank for the series?
Just one thing, Bernie, before we go, I'd like to give RRTV a big thanks for everything and the support throughout the season as well. And I'd also like to give a big shout for Dan and all the hard work that he does to make this happen down under.
Well, thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and thanks, Benny and Edward and crew. Couldn't have done it without you guys. It's great service you guys put on here. I always enjoy watching them after I race in them, and watch my mistakes. But yeah, thanks a lot for the whole season, mate.
Yeah, no worries. Well, you won't be disappointed tonight, Dan. We've got a few super slow-mos of your mistakes. I was almost going to put it together like a big season montage. In fact, I might still do that.
Thanks a lot, buddy. It's awesome.
On that note, I'll let you guys go while I start looking at doing this montage, but I'll hand over to you, Weehan, and see if you can have a bit of a chat with Jeremiah Morton.
All right. Hey, Jeremiah, welcome. Tonight's race for you. So close, but yet so far.
Yeah, it was a case of that, wasn't it, Way?
Yeah.
You there, Weehan?
Yeah, I'm there. I think Jeremiah cut up a bit there. Oh, sorry, you were saying something?
Oh, yeah, I was just saying, yeah, it was a case of almost got there, but wasn't to be. I only found out about this series only a couple of hours ago. I got permissions, got league access, then jumped in, used baseline setup, and just went for gold. And being not a regular in the series, I didn't know that you had to sort of feel safe to win. And so I went hard and went home and ended up losing out.
All right, because we're watching a race and we were wondering how the hell did you have the pace to lead the field by such a large margin? But yeah, well, I guess things like that happen from time to time, and it was just unfortunate that happened to you tonight. Yeah, I was telling Edward that we were doing the commentators curse on you when you had to go into the pits after leading for such a long time throughout the race. So you want to talk to us about the race from your perspective, please?
Yeah, sure. So, qualifying, firstly qualifying went all right. Managed to get a pretty good banker lap in, and then was on my flying lap about 3/10 up on Kyle, and got a 0x contact with the back marker, and that ruined my lap. So had to start from second, but got a pretty good.
You there, guys?
No,
I think we just lost him, actually. I think he's just dropped out.
And then pit stops happened. And, went in pits. It was a good pit stop. Then I went out and, just resumed, got on with it, and pushed as hard as I could. And when that safety car came out, I just tried to save as much fuel as I could. I knew the guys were pretty good on pace in terms of in practice and qualifying. So when it came to the race, I felt it felt very weird that they were a long way back. I thought I was probably too quick for them to be pushing hard. So I knew something was up, and once that final pit stop happened and they weren't pitting, I knew I'd been gypped. But that's just a thing that comes with running the series regularly. Definitely a thing that I recommend for next season, to have it set up so that you don't have this situation happen. I know the organisers work a lot on working out the race laps and the race strategies, but I think it wrecks the whole race having it this length because people can't push, and that's what makes exciting racing. That's what makes it really close.
Yeah, I understand that, and I guess it's one of those mistakes that come here and there. But of course, great performance by yourself tonight. I mean, the fact that you were able to lead the field for what, 32, 34 laps of the race today, and putting on such a show for us.
Hey, I try every race just for you, man.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Hey, so do you guys have any more things you'd like to add on?
Oh, I'd like to just plug my sponsors if I can. Is that all right?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I'd like to thank Rd12 Racing. They provide kids parties and also work functions. So if you're in the Adelaide area, down in South Australia and Australia, then hit them up. I'd like to thank Lenovo, consistent sponsors here at Lit Motorsports. Just like to thank all my teammates for the support. Couldn't do it without you.
Fantastic.
All right, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for that, Jeremiah, and congratulations, second. So hopefully we'll catch up with you again in another race event.
sure you will. Thanks to RRTV for broadcasting this event. Looks awesome and in stunning HD. Thanks, Bernie. Thanks, Way.
See you, mate. Yeah, so guys, that pretty much wraps up the racingleagues.com tonight. And before we go, Edward, any final thoughts on what we saw tonight?
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was absolutely brilliant what we saw tonight. There was some really good quality driving out there on display, not least of which from our winner, Jamie McKnight, who's obviously off jumping into yet another race now, so wasn't able to come up for an interview, which is a bit of a shame. But I think the racingleagues.com, they've run an excellent series. Certainly everything that I've seen of it has been absolutely great. I know a couple of the guys that actually run that through the league that I run over at Anscar. So, obviously hoping that they're able to put something together to allow them to continue on and bring to us more racing of the quality that we saw tonight. Because if the racing that they put on normally is anything like that, then they certainly have a place in the Australian, New Zealand iRacing landscape for sure.
Oh, they definitely do. And if people don't know much about racingleagues.com, this group, they've been organising racing since I think 2004 or something. Very, very long-standing organisers, and they've just come to iRacing, so it's sad to see that this series has wound up, but it's good to hear that it might continue in some other form, and some more racing might continue. But it's always been a pleasure calling these events for racingleagues.com, and hopefully we'll get the opportunity again. But if you're tuning in tonight, folks, don't forget, in about 57 minutes, we're going to be back on air to call the Sim Racers Asia GT3 series. Weehan will be back with myself, and we might have Scott Newton in the room as well. And we're off to Monza. So, Weehan, you got that helicopter ready? Because we're going to have to take off if we're going to get to Italy in the next 57 minutes.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I love Monza, but man, I feel a bit tired now. So
Well, you better go.
I don't want to fly anymore, man.
You better go and get a coffee, man, because we're going to be back on in 57 minutes. But anyway, folks, thanks for everyone tuning in tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the RRTV coverage of the final round of racingleagues.com Oceanic GT series from Phillip Island. Congratulations to Jamie McKnight for taking the win tonight, taking the series, as well as getting the lucky prize that was drawn tonight on air. But if you can't join us in 57 minutes, have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. So on behalf of Edward Foster and Weehan Chan, I'm Bernie Weemers. Thanks for tuning in, and good night.